Brooke, Helen, and Allie get together at the park. It's the first time in a long time since they've been here, but the memories attached to the place are still fresh. Brooke and Allie are single ladies, and Brooke in particular is weary of people trying to set her up on dates. They tag Helen as the lucky one, because she's married to a loving husband with 2 kids. Brooke teases there's room for another kid, but Helen isn't having it. They get to a food stall, and Helen orders enough food for a football team that she plans to eat all by herself, leaving both Allie and Brooke confused. As the 3 friends eat and talk, Sean lounges with his coworker, Mike. Mike is bold and isn't shy about his terrible pickup lines. Whenever he sees a woman he likes, he takes his shot, figuring he can't strike out every time. He feels his friend can take a page out of his book. Sean has been throwing glances at Allie's direction, although she hasn't noticed. Mike remarks it's the first time Sean has shown interest in a woman since Jessica. Allie has been in her office job for about 5 years and feels good about her chances for a promotion. She says she wouldn't change a thing about her life. Helen, on the other hand, disagrees. She thought Allie would be married with kids by now, not stuck in a dull job. She also brings up how Allie once dreamed of being a nurse, which seems far from the path she's on now. But Allie stands firm, saying her life is just fine as it is. The ladies are approaching, and Mike thinks it's a good idea for Sean to act. Sean is shy, but Mike can be outgoing for both of them. Sadly, it backfires. Brooke scolds Mike for possibly hitting on them. She calls them unprofessional fire rescues, neglecting their job and making guests uncomfortable. The friends are addressing Brooke's brutality when a gypsy pops out of her canopy and beckons for them to come in. After slight hesitation, Allie walks towards the entrance with her friends trailing behind. Inside Madame Zoe's dimly lit canopy, the 3 friends glance around the room filled with candles, jars, and odd objects. They seem unsure, taking it all in. Brooke establishes herself as the bold one, stepping forward, ready to go first, while her friends watch, still a little uneasy. Madame Zoe reads Brooke's palm, citing an adventure and 2 different paths. One path is intense, but will lead to success, while the other path is more challenging. She should expect an assignment to prove her mettle. The fortune is vague, but Brooke commits it to memory. Helen goes next with a list of things she expects to hear from Madame Zoe. Madame Zoe lets her talk long enough before flicking her forehead and asking Helen to let her do her job. Madame Zoe sees a lack of communication that could hinder a mutual understanding with someone Helen loves. She also sees a double rouge. Helen expects to hear something more exciting, much like Brooke's, but Madame Zoe is done with her. Madame Zoe asks Allie to spit on her hand. She sees a lot of changes coming: a new home, a new trade, and a man she will call her soulmate. She mentions that this guy's name is John. Outside the canopy, Helen starts to complain about her fortune. Allie is confused as to why Helen was asking Madame Zoe for a more average husband. Helen confides in them that her husband is too perfect, and it makes her uncomfortable. Allie and Brooke wave her off because she sounds ridiculous. Brooke is excited about her fortune, but Allie doesn't care for hers. She's not looking for a change and reiterates that she's fine with what she has. Helen and Brooke sit on the carriage of the Ferris wheel. Allie shares another carriage with a kid named John. Helen jokes that the predictions are coming true. Just then, Allie gets a phone call from her landlord, who informs her that a flood damaged her apartment. Emphasis on damage. Helen and Brooke get down from their carriage, and Helen taps Brooke about how the first part of Allie's fortune has come to pass, but Brooke refuses to see Madame Zoe's credibility. The Ferris wheel control goes bad, trapping John and Allie in midair. Their circumstances attract a crowd, John more calm than Allie. What a brave young boy. Sean helps them out, and the women recognize him from earlier. He operates the crane smoothly, and the crowd cheers as they make it down safely. Allie, feeling a bit sick, keeps her eyes closed until Sean tells her it's safe to open them. Once they're back on the ground, John's mom picks him up, leaving Allie and Sean in the carrier for a moment. She thanks him, trying to keep her distance, and just before she leaves with her friends, he introduces himself. Allie moves into Brooke's place. She lost all of her belongings in the flood, and what she could salvage, she plans to give to a thrift shop. Brooke is working on a commercial but is having problems with the cast. She needs a married couple, but while she's found a perfect fit for the wife, she hasn't found a husband. Helen calls to insist Madame Zoe is credible, but both Brooke and Allie poke holes in Helen's faith. Allie still has her job, and she's still up for a promotion. Brooke's production hasn't met any major obstacles. Helen sees it's 2 against 1 and decides to back off, for now. Allie attends the meeting, expecting the board members to talk about the promotion. There are 3 familiar faces and a new, unfriendly face. She's told the company is going through a restructuring, and that's why the new guy is here. Ali still has her hopes up until she's told part of the company's transition is downsizing. Ali is baffled because she'd been looking forward to this promotion for about 6 months. Tina goes on about consolidating her department, and it starts to sink why they've called her in. They're firing her. Ali returns to Brooks with the bad news, and Brooke is in the process of consoling her when Helen bursts in, looking overwhelmed. She announces that she's pregnant with twins. Over tissues and a bowl of ice cream that was meant for Ali, Helen reveals that she's 3 months in, and she's scheduled for an ultrasound where they'll reveal the genders to her. She mentions that her husband Brian is quite excited about the news. Ali points out that Madame Zoe was right all along. Too many predictions have come to pass to still think she's a con artist. Brooke remembers Madame Zoe had predicted double rogue for Helen, and that could mean that Helen is having twin girls. Ali needs a job and house, just as Madame Zoe predicted. Helen voices that they'll need to go back to Madame Zoe and fix this mess. Helen rants more about Brian on their way to the carnival. He's got high standards and he's always one step ahead. It makes her feel like she's not trying hard enough even though he's not trying to be malicious. The park is deserted, with no sign of the carnival. Ali still thinks Helen is being ridiculous with how she feels about Brian. He ticks every box and she wants him to untick some. Madame Zoe's canopy is under lock and key. Helen panics, blurting out that Madame Zoe has cursed them, while Ali pleads with her to be more rational. They call out to Madame Zoe with hopes that she's in. Helen tries to pass through the crack in the gate, and then she starts whining that she's fat and pregnant. She pushes Ali to try fitting through, and Ali gets stuck. While she's trying to pull Ali out, Sean pops up, concerned about them. Helen tries to hide Ali, and Ali rejects his help, embarrassed by the situation. Sean tells them the carnival has moved somewhere else, so Madame Zoe won't be available for weeks. He's on patrol as everything for the carnival gets packed up. Ali manages to slip out, exchanges pleasantries, and then bolts with Helen. Brian and the kids are having fun in the park. Ali, Helen, and Brooke sit on the bench, watching and talking. Helen complains that everyone loves Brian, children and mothers alike. Ali wants Helen to stop complaining and have a more positive outlook on things. Helen concedes, stating that she'll work on it. It might be too late for Helen, but Ali wouldn't mind a reverse on her fortune. She's got no belongings, no job or a house, and it's an overwhelming pressure having to start from scratch. Brooke reminds her that Madame Zoe predicted a soulmate for Ali, and that's something to look forward to. Ali recalls Madame Zoe said the guy's name is John. Brooke infers finding this John for her friend could be the challenging task from her fortune. Helen offers to help Brooke, and Ali argues finding a job and a house should be her priority. Helen and Ali decide they'll handle the soulmate part, while Ali fixes the rest. Sean and Mike play ball. Mike delivers more insufferable pickup lines, and Sean advises that a simple greeting would suffice for most women. Mike reminds Sean he's no expert on women. He's been single for over a year, still nursing a broken heart. He hasn't even tried going on dates. Sean mentions he saw his crush from the carnival. He admits that he's attracted to her, and Mike is excited that they finally have something to work with. The women brainstorm about the Johns they know, compiling a list so they know what they're working with. Ali is thinking of a career change. Mike found Ali's driver's license and hands it to Sean. Ali had forgotten it while filing a report for the Ferris wheel incident. Mike suggests that Sean return the license. It has her address, and it's the perfect opportunity for Sean to get to know his crush better. The women are still brainstorming. Ali keeps mentioning jobs that Helen can't picture her doing. The list of Johns has skyrocketed to 187. Ali starts to feel overwhelmed, so Brooke suggests that she step out for a while and let them clean up the list. She agrees, saying she's going to her place to see what else was salvaged from the flood. Sean hesitates outside her place, debating whether to turn back. He worries Ali might think he's being creepy. After some inner struggle, he decides it's worth a shot. When he meets Ali's landlord, he learns she had to move out due to a flood that left her apartment unlivable for weeks. As Sean is about to leave, Ali pulls up in her car. The landlord mentions a friend had just stopped by, but can't recall the name or why he was there. Ali is at a cafe when she hears the name, John. This John happens to be in a relationship though. She gets a call from somewhere she applied to. They're looking to interview her on Monday afternoon, much to her excitement. Ali bumps into Sean on her way out. She apologizes, ashamed of how they keep running into each other. She remarks he must think she's accident-prone, but it's just been a hectic 24 hours. Sean cares to listen, so Ali tells him she's lost her job and her apartment got flooded. He replies that he's aware of the apartment, and it makes Ali question how he knows that. He digs into his pocket and brings out her driver's license. He explains that she had forgotten it, and there was no number to call, so he traced her to the address on it. That's how he learned from her landlord that her place got flooded. Allie had no idea it was missing, and she's grateful she has it back. She teases Sean that they'll likely run into each other again. He tries not to be too excited about this. Allie returns to Brooks and sees her friends have been hard at work. Every wall is covered in pictures of Johns the women have been able to scout, courtesy of the internet. They've gathered details including qualifications, education, basic details. Brooke urges Allie to pick a number, and then she browses through the candidate's information. Allie has some requirements, and it gives Brooke the idea to streamline the candidates based on that. Allie thinks hard about what she'd want or not want in a guy, and it cuts down the list to 90 Johns. The number is still overwhelming, and she wonders if her friends expect her to start contacting these men. They ask her not to worry about that. The list is compiled of the Johns they know, but if Allie likes, they could branch out to Johns they don't know. That would mean setting up a dating profile with the clear instructions that she's looking for a John. Allie cringes at the dating site idea, preferring the former. Sean and Mike help a cat stuck in a tree. Mike asks about Ali, and Sean sighs. He'd blown an opportunity to at least ask for her number, and now he's scared he might never see her again. Mike encourages him to stay calm. Allie keeps Helen company during her ultrasound scan. Brian couldn't make it because their daughter is sick, so he's home with her. Helen and Brian plan to have a gender reveal together, so the genders are a mystery until the next appointment. The ultrasound tech states the babies are healthy with a fast heartbeat rate. Allie mentions hearing a fast heartbeat rate means it's a girl. She shows interest in the tech's career path, asking her how long she studied to become one. Ali feels like the time is worth it. She's been considering trying a different career path from the last one. She went to the job interview and it was obvious that she lacked enthusiasm or interest in the field. Brooke calls because she's finalized a meeting schedule for each John. Ali complains that they've booked most of her days with dates, and she's starting to second-guess their decision. Her preference for dates includes walks and coffee, but her friends feel those are zero-effort dates and she can do better. She'll be in charge of picking the activity for a date. Allie pleads they can just let John naturally find her, but Helen disagrees. At nature's rate, Allie has met only a named John. The call ends when the doctor comes in. Allie recognizes him. They went to high school together and haven't seen each other in a long time. His name is John. They hug and start to catch up. But John remembers he has a patient. Helen suggests they can talk more over lunch, and John agrees. Helen whispers to Allie that he'll be added to the list. Helen and Brooke get Allie ready for her first date in a long time. She feels nervous, even though she is the one doing the rejections. She thinks she's out of practice, so Brooke tells her to relax and have fun. If she likes him, she can pursue it. If not, she can walk away. Helen adds that Allie is charming and beautiful, and any man, John or otherwise, will be lucky to be with her. The doorbell rings, meaning potential John number 1 is ready for Allie. Brooke has doubts, so Allie reminds her that she's supposed to be optimistic about all possible options. This John is from Allie's college days. Both Helen and Brooke are eager to welcome him, but Allie asks them to step back, because she believes they've done enough. Helen and Brooke peep from the window as John and Allie approach his car. They have their fingers crossed that he's a gentleman, and he proves so when he opens the car door for Allie. On the drive to their date, John keeps a wide and almost permanent smile that has Allie worried. She tries to converse with him, but he does nothing on his part to keep the conversation going, treating their time like a Q&A session. When Allie gets to Brooke's, she's upset. She explains how the date went. John drove around in circles, then stopped at a gas station to buy her an ice cream bar. The conversation was awkward, and she's sure she wouldn't want to see him again. Things only get worse. Allie goes on more dates that leave her speechless, annoyed, and confused. There are still plenty of men to choose from, but Allie is tired. She wonders if she and her friends are doing this wrong, or if she's the problem. Allie's next date is with Helen's doctor. She thinks she might actually enjoy this one. Helen says Dr. John seems nice and normal. He's single and drives a nice car. Allie feels excited about their date the next day. Dr. John takes Allie to a cafe, and Sean is there by chance. John says he was married but got divorced a few years ago, with no kids. His ex-wife left him for her trainer. As he talks, Sean keeps trying to catch Allie's eye and mouths things at her. She tries to stay focused on John's story. Suddenly, John turns red and gasps. He's choking. Allie calls for help, and Sean jumps in, using the Heimlich maneuver on John. Allie returns to her friends who are waiting. She says the date was going well, but she feels bad that she couldn't help when John started choking. They were lucky the fireman was there. She froze so badly that she's not sure she even thanked Sean. Sean and Mike are at work and in uniform. Sean is talking about how nervous he was around Allie, but Mike signals him to be quiet because Allie is here. Allie greets them, and Sean turns, surprised. Mike leaves them alone. Allie came to thank Sean for his help. She notifies Sean that John is doing okay, and it was a nice date until he started choking. Allie wants to know why Sean kept staring at her, especially while he was with another woman. Sean explains that the woman is his aunt, and Allie apologizes for assuming otherwise. Allie points out that Sean was staring regardless, and he doesn't deny it. She's impressed by how calm and quick Sean was with John. He says it's because of his training, and Allie asks more about it. They talk as they walk. Allie took EMT training in her first year of college, but dropped it later. She's not happy about how slow she was to react and wants to improve. She knows people react differently in emergencies, but she wants to respond like Sean did. To do that, she'd need to retake EMT courses. The hours are long, especially when emergencies come in. Sean is EMT certified, but chose to become a fireman because of a quote his mom had on the wall. Allie thanks Sean for giving her an audience and taking out time to answer all her questions. Sean is open to answering more. He offers to give her his number in case she comes up with new questions. Allie is at Helen's gender reveal party, and she tells her friends she'd like to become a first responder, working her way to becoming a paramedic. She explains the difference to a clueless Helen, and Brooke thinks Allie should be focused more on finding her one true John. Allie doesn't like their attitude. She's ready to pursue this career path, especially after talking with Sean. She mentions she had a good time with him, but her friends aren't listening. Allie needs to find a John. She still has several dates to attend, and Helen even booked a second date with her doctor on Allie's behalf. Another prediction has come to pass. Helen is having twin girls. Allie and Helen's doctor go golfing. She's a natural even though it's her first time. She mentions she's having a career change. She's transitioning from computers to EMTs. John feels it's a drastic change, and Allie wonders if he thinks she can't handle it. A call comes in mid-explanation. He has a delivery to get to, so he has to go. He suggests that they go on another date. Allie calls Sean while he's playing catch with Mike. She tells him she's finally decided what she wants to do for a living. Sean sounds excited, and Allie notices he's the first one to feel that way since she started sharing her news. She asks him for some tips, but Sean offers to coach her from the beginning to the end of her new career path. She's speechless at his kindness and agrees to meet him Friday morning to check out what he'll put together. Unfortunately, it can't be sooner because Allie has a few more dates planned this week. Helen returns home with Brooke. Both are worried about Allie, who's not making much headway in the dating pool. Helen notes that she's shown the most interest in Dr. John. She notices the house is too quiet. Brian and the kids are not in sight. Helen calls Brian, but it goes to voicemail. Brooke teases that Helen has gotten what she wanted, an irresponsible husband who leaves dirty dishes and goes MIA with the kids. Helen, however, finds him fast asleep with the kids. Helen and Brooke do the dishes. While they're on it, Brooke helps Helen realize that she's not a bad wife, and Brian is an amazing husband. Brooke is still worried about Allie, but Helen feels they can be better friends and be supportive of Allie's plan for work. Brooke insists they can't overlook the soulmate part. Allie and Sean meet up, and he's much help to her. There's a lot to do, including taking a course to get CPR certified. Allie asks Sean to sign her up at his place of work. He mentions an accelerated EMT training course that lasts for just 19 days. She'll need to take it to meet the requirements of completing a state-approved education program. Allie realizes there's a hiccup. She still has several dates spanning several weeks, occupying time she could be using to start her EMT journey. Helen keeps Ali company in the EMT class. Ali's last date was just as bad as the rest, and she asks Helen to cancel all upcoming dates so she can focus on her classes. She agrees she'll honor the upcoming one with Dr. John, but every other John has to go. Ali tries to get Brooke to see she's been on more than enough blind dates. So far, out of 50 Johns, she's had just one second date. Brooke feels she's failed, and Ali assures her that's not the case. Dr. John still has potential, but they've yet to finish a date. John and Ali have another date. It's a fun one until the hospital calls, meaning John has to leave again. She'd wanted him to be her study partner for her upcoming test. If she passes, then she gets to take the accelerated course. Ali and Sean become study partners. Brooke returns, not bothering to hide her hostility towards Sean. She scolds Ali for wasting a good appearance on Sean. Ali still has a date with Dr. John, so Brooke shouldn't be too worried. On this date, Dr. John and Ali have their longest conversation yet. They both get a text, and Ali is excited when she reads hers. She's ready to share, but Dr. John cuts her short. He has to leave. Again. He says he's off the following week and they could go on a formal date then. Allie remains in high spirits even after he leaves. She finds Sean and shows him the message she received. She passed the test, and now she wants to celebrate. They settle on Saturday. Sean would like to take her on a date. Allie learns more about Sean. His parents passed away when he was in college, and his aunt is always traveling. He almost got married once, but she called it off because Sean seemed too good to be true. Sean had a happy childhood, one with fond memories. He hasn't been in a serious relationship since his ex walked away, making work his priority. Allie shares the same sentiments concerning work. She's been engrossed in it for so long that she's pushed loved ones away. Ali gets apprehended by Helen and Brooke. At this point, Helen is Team Sean, while Brooke is Team John. Ali hasn't decided between two, but she admits she's leaning towards Sean, and she hates how the fortune has had so much control over her life. Mike pushes Sean to let Ali know how he feels. His friend has changed for the better, and he believes it's only right that Sean states his intentions before a good thing slips away. Allie is ready for her next date, and John is running late. When he comes, she tries to tell him something, but he interrupts her with a kiss. Sean sees them and hurries away without them noticing. He'd come with flowers and high hopes that have now been crushed. Ali tells John he's not the one for her. They end things mutually, and she goes to find Sean. He's missing and not answering her calls, so Mike calls, and while she can't hear Sean's side of the line, she can sense that something is wrong. Allie finds Sean and comes clean to him. He's cold, pointing out that he saw the kiss, and then he leaves Allie scrambling for words. He wishes her well, and she fights back tears as he walks away. Allie shifts her focus to her career path, but her mind is not totally off Sean. She soon moves out of Brooke's place into a new apartment. Mike remains Sean's voice of reasoning. This time, he asks Sean not to be so tough and consider giving Ali a second chance. Meanwhile, on her way to class, Ali spots a flyer on the notice board, stating that the carnival is back. She turns towards the park. Helen goes into labor and Brooke has to call 911. Sean is part of the team that comes to her aid. This dude is everywhere. Ali goes into the canopy to settle her beef with Madame Zoe, and it turns out that Helen had false labor. Sean gives her some recommendations, and Helen asks him to mend things with Ali. Brooke admits she was obsessed, but she's ready to chill and acknowledge Ali's happiness with Sean. Ali confronts Madame Zoe about her false prediction, but Madame Zoe is confident in what she saw. Ali is soon able to clarify that Madame Zoe's accent makes Sean sound like John. Sean came to the carnival looking for Ali. Ali is in a solemn mood, walking past the Ferris wheel, when the worker from the previous incident recognizes and offers her a free ride. Sean joins the carriage just in time, and the two of them express how they feel. Ali chose Sean regardless of what her fortune said, and Sean is sorry for judging her so quickly. He was only trying to protect his heart. Sean wonders if her fortune could still interfere, so Ali remarks that her fortune was right along. Before she can get into the full story, the Ferris wheel gets stuck again. Ali isn't afraid this time. She has her hero with her.